Hello there, this is James, and you're watching OneRoyal, and it's live. In today's program, I want to discuss how a particular trade strategy or trading strategy seems to be coming or potentially coming to an end because we told somebody what it stood for. As well as that, I want to talk about the on again, off again drama of this tariff trade war we are facing and look at the week ahead on some important data coming out, which will give us an indication on how healthy the US labor market is. But before I get into all of that, don't forget these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out of the way, let's get started. So we have seen, certainly in May in particular, and April, indeed, a recent phenomenon, and that is the taco trade. However, I do think that the taco trade, and I'll explain to you what the taco trade is in a moment, might potentially be coming to an end. Now, let's face it, with all the drama, the market's been forming quite well. In fact, there's the old saying, sell in May, then go away. Well, that has not been the case for, say, the S&P 500. Because the S&P 500 had its best May in 35 years due to the tariff drama and the taco trade. Because in fact, last month, the S&P rose by more than 6%. It wasn't not just the S&P 500 either. The Dow Jones rose by 4%. The NASDAQ up by nearly 10%. Again, down to the taco trade. As NASDAQ is also because of NVIDIA as well. Obviously, NVIDIA's earnings last week. Now, the reason why everything is benefited or done extremely well because of, say, the so-called taco trade is the whole buy the dip principle is back. Because if you have a look at it, the average daily return for the S&P 500 following a down day, following a day it's crashed, the average return the following day has been 0.36%. 0.36%. So very much a case of buy the dip is back. Now look, this is how it's performed. Like I say, May's been its best May in 35 years. So let's get into what the actual taco trade actually is, because it's a term that Wall Street has been using. Now, the taco trade stands for Trump always chickens out. In other words, what the market has basically looked at is that Trump goes really aggressive with tariffs, really aggressive with tariffs. And then the next day, he backs down. So the taco trade has been a case of once the market crashes because of what Trump has said in relation to tariffs, he's going to chicken out. Funny. Yeah, hello there. I hope you're well. Hope you're doing really, really well. What then happens is that he will then chicken out, and then the market will bounce back up again. I mean, there's a lot of theory behind this taco trade, because if you look at Liberation Day on the 2nd of April, since then, which was frightening, and then on the 9th, he back down and said a 90-day delay on tariffs till the 9th of July, and then the market was much rejoicing. So again, indeed, the taco trade worked. So remember, that taco trade stands for Trump always chickens out. And it has obviously worked over the last couple of months or weeks or so. However, this is why I think potentially the taco trade might be coming to an end, because someone decided to tell President Trump what the taco trade means. And needless to say, he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy with that expression whatsoever. Was not a very happy president in the White House when a reporter asked him what he thought about the taco trade and explained to him what it meant. So this is why. Now, because of that, I think a lot of analysts, myself included, the reason behind why we think potentially the taco trade is finished is because now Trump is more likely going to double down on his tariffs, threats, and his commitment to tariffs. And it started already. This is what he had to say in relation to trade negotiations with China. He posted this on Truth Social at the weekend. He said this: "The bad news is that China, perhaps not surprisingly to some, has totally violated its agreement with us. So much for being Mr. Nice Guy." We shouldn't have told him what taco trade meant. So much for being Mr. Nice Guy. So now the US, this is all to do, of course, with the trade negotiations they held several weeks ago in Geneva, where it looked like there was going to be approaching some sort of trade deal. Not looks like it's going that way, because now the US are now planning to widen China tech sanctions more. China, of course, decided to fight back. And they've said this, putting the blame actually now on the United States for the failure of this trade negotiations. He said the Chinese Ministry of, this is by the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, "If the US insists on its own way and continues to damage China's interest, China will continue to take resolute and forceful measures to safeguard its rights." So, despite all the rejoicing we had several weeks ago after the meeting in Geneva, it looks like the trade deal is heating up again. The trade war between China and the US is heating up. And it's almost getting to the point it's no longer just about trade. So it doesn't stop there, though. Why did we tell him what it meant? It doesn't stop there. Because Trump is also going to raise tariffs on steel and aluminium by 50%. By 50% as well. So as you might have guessed, and we're going to have a quick look at the market in a moment before I want to talk about more drama in reference to tariffs. As you can guess, the market currently is very muted, very subdued, and is indeed under slight pressure because, for one, trade war with China is heating up. Tariffs on steel and aluminium have gone up. So indeed, more likely the taco trade has potentially finished. But anyway, let's have a quick look at the market, how it's opened so far today. Okay, so the market's now been open for 40 minutes. It's the S&P 500. Like I said, it had the best May in 35 years. It started the month lower at the moment, negative 0.54%. Obviously, because the market sentiment is changing as well. And same with the dollar index, the NASDAQ, not dollar index, NASDAQ, again, slightly down, 0.31%. Dow Jones national average, again, started off the month negative as well, down 0.65%, down 275 points. Nothing really dramatic, but again, like I say, there is that feeling now that, the taco trade has finished. And if we have a quick look at the Mag 7, Tesla, whose, like I say, sales in Europe or on the other part is really plummeting. They're currently down negative 2.37%. Meta, not so bad, 0.24% up so far. Microsoft down 0.20%. Amazon down 0.92%. Alphabet down 1.98%. Nvidia, who was the star of the ball last week with the earnings report, up slightly, but nothing to get the bunting out about, 0.75%. And Apple down 0.12%. So you can see nothing terribly dramatic for the day so far in the market, but you can sense that market sentiment has changed. Now, moving on, because again, we're going to keep with the tariffs story. We're going to keep with the tariff story. That's not changing. Because at the end of last week, we had so many twists and turns in relation to tariffs. It's practically really like watching a series of Games of Thrones. Because firstly, the trade court decides to pause Trump's tariffs on Wednesday, saying Trump had overstepped his authority. He didn't like that, did he? No, the Trump administration didn't like that. And then on Thursday, the Court of Appeals reinstated Trump's tariffs. So they put them back in place, saying that this needs to go to a Court of Appeals and be judged in court. So Trump's tariffs are now back in play. And guess when this court date is? This court date to decide if these Trump's reciprocal tariffs are overstepping his authority or legitimate is going to be decided on the 9th of July. Well, actually, technically, it's when the court is going to start, 9th of July. And 9th of July is going to be a day long remembered. Why? Because guess what also happens on the 9th of July? The delay on reciprocal tariffs across the whole world ends on the 9th of July. So all the reciprocal tariffs which Trump delayed on the 9th of April kick in unless trade deals are done on the 9th of July. So as we build up to the 9th of July, there's going to be a lot of anticipation. So it's going to potentially be a big day long remembered. Anyway, now moving away from that, I think it's now time for a currency update. Okie dokie, it is indeed time for a currency update as well, because we've had a brand new month, but the same old story for the US dollar, as the greenback is really struggling with all the confusion on the actions being made by the current US administration. I mean, let's start looking at, for example, looking at the euro. Okay, as you can see with the latest developments, obviously with the China trade wars heating up once again, we are seeing a weaker dollar against a single currency, currently trading at 1.1412412. If we look at it, this is starting the month off, we might look at the 5th month of losses in a row for the greenback against a single currency. If we look at the sterling, same story we're seeing with the sterling today as well. Currently trading at 135.521. Again, if we look at 5 month, again, it's looking like the greenback is going to be really hitting 5 months of losses in a row. Okay, potentially. Again, 5 months against the sterling as well. Now, if we then also look, of course, at the dollar yen. Look at the dollar yen. Where is it? But there it is. Dollar yen. Again, down 142. Really, potentially the first key area I'm keeping an eye on is 142.62 at the moment. Key area for me initially, though, straight away, potential support or potential key level for the dollar yen is 142.02. But again, as you can see, the dollar under pressure. And you can see this, of course, as well, with the dollar index back down below 98. So overall, against the currencies, dollar's having a bad day. But guess what? It's having a good day. Again, of course, it wouldn't be one of my broadcasts if I didn't talk about it. Of course, gold is back up once again. A, because of the weaker dollar, which we're looking at, but B, because uncertainty has returned to the market. It's currently trading at $3,372 again, still way above that potential, support trend line there, really performing well. And again, it's pure safe haven status is driving the lust for the yellow metal. My only concern, of course, for gold's continued bull run is this double top, which I've mentioned several times. So really the key potential resistance, which I'm keeping an eye on, which will have to be broken if it goes any further, is 3,430. Start again, $3,446. That's a key potential resistance for me. But gold shining bright once again because someone told President Trump what taco trade meant. Anyway, let's look at the week ahead. Other news is, despite obviously trade tensions and more developments on that, we do have some key economic data coming out this week, obviously, which is really important. First of all, of course, we've got the non-farm payroll, and the market is going to be looking towards this to see if the U.S. labor market is still performing strongly. Don't forget, last month's number came in a lot better than anticipated. There's a lot of anticipation about this number too. Expectation is for the number to come in at 130,000 and unemployment rate to remain at 4.2%. Don't forget, unemployment rose slightly last month, but it's still expected to remain at 4.2. But we have a fun-packed week full of economic data. We have EU CPI, US ADP, Bank of Canada interest rate decision, US ISM services PMI, ECB interest rate decision, and ECB press conference. That will be interesting. EU GDP, EU retail sales, and of course, US non-farm payroll, which of course we might do a watch along this week to have a look, see how that folds out. Anyway, exciting week ahead of us, economic data wise, and more trade and tariff story development wise. So anyway, don't forget, this of course is a live show, so you can talk to me, ask me questions anytime you like, or more importantly, or better, what I'd really like is for you to share with me your opinions, what you think about what is going on with this trade war, this tariff thing. Was it wise to tell President Trump what taco trade meant? Was it a wise decision to do that? Is the taco trade finished as well? And, or let me know what you think or what you're currently trading at the moment, And as well as that, of course, if you're watching me on YouTube and you're liking this type of content, this sort of thing, subscribe if you like. Hit the notification button so you know next time I'm going live. And, of course, if you quite like me and put up with me, put up with my over-the-top enthusiasm for the markets, because I can't help it. I'm very passionate about the markets. By all means, give me one of these. On another thing, of course, I have noticed that a lot of people do go back and watch the recordings afterwards, which is great. I like or love any type of support. It's brilliant. If you are watching the recording, okay, you do have a question, you have a comment, or you have an idea, put it in the comment section below. I will see it, and I will reply to it next time I go live on air, which of course will be tomorrow, obviously, because we go live every single day. Okie dokie. If there is no questions, not a problem. Not a problem at all. Leaves me to say a couple of things. Don't forget, if you're watching the video and you're not part of the OneRoyal family and you'd like to know a little bit more about us, there's a little link in the description below. Click on it and you can have a little look at us and find out more. And like I said before, if you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe. Notification button. Give us a thumbs up. It'd be great. Anyway, Anyway, if there is no questions, leaves me to say is this. Till next time, don't forget these little videos are for educational purposes only and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your own due diligence, and of course, the risks at hand for entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.